Many people assume that a good economy and a healthy environment are mutually exclusive. Our next guest has thought a lot about this. He is an inventor, an entrepreneur, and the company he co-founded, Saltworks, was started in a makeshift lab in his apartment. Several police calls, eviction notice, minor floods later, kids, don't try this at home, he moved into his own building. There, he now has a company of 40 people, and their new building will accommodate 200. Saltworks equipment is making fresh water for sailors in the Canadian Navy, astronauts in NASA, farmers in the Australian outback, and is wrestling with some of the most intractable technical problems related to that beautiful chemical of life, dihydrogen monoxide, what many of us call water. Please welcome Ben Sparrow.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Sam, for that kind introduction. Tonight, I'm going to speak about the tension between our environment and the economy. Personally, I like both, and I do not believe they need to be in competition. I believe we have a tremendous opportunity with our natural resource wealth to use innovation to relieve that tension, and in the process of doing so, create the next generation of technologies and industries for the future. In Canada, we are blessed. Pristine nature, abundant natural resources, and a passport that will take us anywhere in the world. Canadians have done a pretty good job at figuring out how to protect our land and water. We do that because it's ours. However, when we zoom out globally, the human race has done quite a poor job at protecting our atmosphere and our ocean. These are shared international resources, both to our benefit and potentially to our demise. The atmosphere is fairly important. It's not only a thin layer that protects us from space, but we breathe it and it regulates weather patterns. We are learning more and more that the chemistry of the atmosphere is fragile and more fragile than we thought. We've been putting a lot of stuff into the atmosphere for the last 200 years. That said, we figured out how to protect the ozone layer by regulating refrigerants and inventing new ones. We managed to slow down acid rain by developing scrubbers and putting them on power plants. But we still have not conquered carbon, which is emitted when we burn fossil fuels. Increasing carbon levels in the atmosphere are indisputable. Everybody knows they're increasing. But people are still arguing about the consequences. One consequence, we know that our atmosphere and our ocean communicate. Gases travel back and forth. And due to the increasing CO2 levels in the atmosphere, CO2 levels in the ocean are increasing, which is making it more acidic. What that means is this little guy can't grow his skin. Maybe one day, some shellfish might become extinct. If shellfish become extinct, the mammals that eat them, such as seals, will be without food. And without seals, our prized orca will not have food. So, how close to the cliff are we? And how did we get here? Humans arrived on this planet by whatever means, and we had our thumbs. We started to move stuff around and build things. We discovered fire. And with that, we started to burn wood. And wood had been our primary energy source for thousands of years. It brought us light and warmth. It drew societies together. We were able to cook, so we grew strong. After that, we discovered coal. Coal provided much more energy than wood. And we could do new things with it, like make steel, build large-scale power plants, and create Zoolander. Coal powered the human race through the Industrial Revolution, which ultimately led to modern society as we know it today, and it's still very important in our society. It's a fundamental input to steel, which enables us to build wind turbines and trains and cars. During that journey, we also discovered oil and gas, and we've been hooked ever since. Hydrocarbons, such as coal, oil, and gas, account for 82% of the energy we use, and we use a lot of energy. So whatever is going to displace them needs to have a very big energy content. Over the past years, we've been experimenting and putting more and more renewable energy sources out into industry, solar, wind, and hydro. They're playing more of a role, but they're far from displacing oil. Nuclear power showed great promise, and still does, as I will try to explain. It can provide a tremendous amount of energy from the atom with no emissions. This is Fukushima before March 11th, 2011. This is after a 9.0 earthquake struck Japan. Nobody truly knows when the area will be habitable again, or the impacts on the ocean, and the radiation leaks. The question is, can we rethink nuclear? And there's a company in Vancouver, General Fusion, that's doing exactly that. You see, there's two types of nuclear. On the left, nuclear fusion, where you take a big uranium molecule and you break it into two. When it breaks up, it releases a huge amount of energy. But the leftovers, those two medium-sized molecules, emit radiation, and that harms DNA. There's another type of nuclear, fusion, which is shown on the right. Fusion is when you take two smaller molecules like hydrogen and you slam them together. They fuse and make helium. In the process of doing so, they also emit a huge amount of energy. But the byproducts, helium, are not radioactive. The challenge, however, with fusion is how to do it on Earth. Fusion is what powers the sun. The temperature of the sun is 5,000 degrees Celsius. And in order to achieve fusion, we need to replicate that here on Earth. This is a picture of a prototype from General Fusion in Burnaby, where they're trying to do exactly that. And if they figure it out, it'll be the fuel, the power that can run our planet for the next billion years. But until that time, we still need, and will quite likely always use, hydrocarbons in some way. Oil is a fantastic fuel. It's portable, it's light, and it has a high energy content. It enables us to travel. The challenge is, are we burning too much of it, and are we using it for the right applications? And this is why our carbon levels are increasing. In addition, we've extracted the easy oil, especially on this continent. So we're now getting into the more challenging resources. Oil sands development is relatively new. We started up by digging up the sand, mixing it with water and separating out the oil, and creating tailings in the process. A lot of good work has been done to figure out how to clean tailings waters, and Canadians are close to a solution. Past mine sites are being reclaimed, and land slowly returned to the ecosystem. However, there's a new technology being practiced that removes the need for the mine altogether. It's called SAGD. This is where they make steam, inject it under the ground to melt the bitumen, oil and hot water flow up to the surface, the oil is separated, and the water recycled, or 80% of it. It results in a much smaller land impact, as shown here. However, there's still challenges. A great deal of energy is needed to create the steam, and presently we're burning natural gas. But maybe some innovators out there will figure out another way to produce that steam. Our team at Saltworks is working on recycling the leftover water, the last 20%, using the waste energy. It's invented in BC, and it's built in BC. And there are oil companies out there investing in innovation like this, seeking solutions and funding development of these next generation technologies. And can we do more, especially given the abundance of our resource wealth? Closer to home in BC, we have a lot of gas, especially in the Northeast in the form of shale gas. The invention of fracking only 15 years ago taught geologists how to make this gas acceptable. Fracking, or hydraulic fracturing, involves pumping high-pressure water, sand, and some other stuff underground and hammering it. You create fractures and then the gas can come up. It's relatively new technology. There have been some challenges with fracking, but in reality, and honestly, these are limited cases. With 10,000 wells drilled, yes, some do leak, but fracking is new technology. It's higher pressure gas, and so people are having difficulty sealing the wells. And they're starting to figure out how to do exactly that. Companies have developed new ways. And can we also develop new ways to extract the gas? Can we bring it up liquefied so we don't have to compress it, which is a primary energy draw for LNG? As British Columbians and Canadians, I believe we have a tremendous opportunity. Asia and America want our oil and gas. We are reliable and stable, as well as being neighbors. And the world is not getting off of oil anytime soon. Can we extract this oil and gas in a more sustainable manner? Can we use part of the wealth created from our resources to invent the solutions needed? I believe we can. And in the process of doing so, we'll create the next industries that power British Columbia into the future, as well as export our clean technology products to the world. Saltworks is one such story. This is the makeshift lab that Sam alluded to. And now we have machines like this various places on the planet. So I challenge you to support your local innovators. Loan them that drill press you may not use. Go to bat for them if they receive an eviction notice or have the police called on them. Give them a space to build things and break them. And let's set aside part of our natural resource future. Let's grow the arts, and with it, creativity. Let's grow innovation, and with it, find solutions to the greatest challenges facing our planet. Thank you very much.